So UFC 259, Blachowicz versus Adesanya has just wrapped up, so I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card and my overall event recap, because I'll tell you this, that event was one of the best events I've watched in a very long time. The prelims were outstanding, and I'm going to start with the early prelim opener. Let's not waste any more time. It's currently 8 AM UK time right now as I make this video. The early prelim opener of Mario Batista versus Trevin Jones kicked off the card. It was a great scrap while it lasted. Good first round, very technical, and Trevin Jones just showed that he's way more improved than his record would say and suggest, because he's lost to some bad guys. But Trevin Jones went out there, looked very patient, landed a lot of leg kicks early, and that eventually opened up the head of Mario Batista, and he scored himself a nice TKO in the second round. Very big win for Trevin Jones. A very big underdog win to start off the card as well. I didn't bet any money on Mario Batista, but it was a very good fight while it lasted. Both guys looked very technical. Trevin Jones just set up the leg kicks a little bit too much too soon in the fight, and he gave Mario Batista more variety of attacks to worry about. Batista seemed to be going for the same things quite a bit, whereas Trevin Jones was mixing things up, going to the legs, going to the body, eventually ending up at the head, and that's what got him the KO win. I was incorrect. I picked Mario Batista, but Trevin Jones proves me wrong once again, as he did against Timo Valiev as well. He's the underdog king, it seems like. Trevin Jones gets it done against the odds once more. Moving on up the card, Uros Medic versus Elon Cruz. I picked Uros Medic to go out there and get a first round TKO. He went out there and got a first round TKO against Elon Cruz, and he just seems to hit it with a different level of power than Elon Cruz does, and every single time he landed, you saw it on Elon Cruz. He did not want to get hit again, and eventually Uros Medic just started beating on him start to finish in that first round, landing great ground and pound shots. The stoppage was weird. I thought it could have been stopped a little bit earlier, but then when I watched it back afterwards, I realized to myself, this isn't entirely on the referee to stop this fight right now, because Uros Medic would land a lot of big punches on Elon Cruz that looked like he was going to eventually get the TKO win. Then he would completely mess up his last few punches that he needed and like get tangled up with Elon Cruz in the grappling situation and have to separate himself again, land a couple of more shots, and then it looked like he was going to land the final few that was going to get the stoppage, and then he would get tangled up in the grappling situation with Elon Cruz again. Definitely needs to learn to distance himself from a grounded opponent to earn himself that TKO win, but you can't really... I'm just splitting. Uros Medic looked amazing, undefeated, savage. He was the one to watch out for coming into this fight. He was in my fighters to watch out for video as well. Uros Medic lived up to the hype in my opinion and completely dusted off Elon Cruz in the first round by TKO. Amazing performance by Uros Medic. I'm just picking at things that I noticed because it was such a dominant performance. You kind of have to look for some weaknesses. Uros Medic got the job done by first round TKO. Moving on, Amanda Lemos versus Livia Renata Souza. I picked Livia Renata Souza to win as an underdog here. Amanda Lemos got the job done by jab finish in the first round. At women's strawweight, I don't even think Ngannou can KO people with jabs. I've never seen it happen. I'll tell you that. Amanda Lemos went out there and was very Figueiredo-esque, if I don't mind... If I say so myself. Like, I watched her in that fight. She looked a lot like Figueiredo out there. A lot of similar movements. A lot of great shots as well. She landed some great shots on Livia Renata Souza. And it was very obvious from the opening bell that Amanda Lemos just hit with a different kind of power than Livia Renata Souza was used to. And Livia Renata Souza just had no chance whatsoever. Now, there was a moment in the fight that angered me massively, because Amanda Lemos was grabbing on the cage as Livia Renata Souza, much like Divas and Figueiredo, I told you before. She was grabbing on the cage as Livia Renata Souza was going for a heel hook and a leg lock at one point, and she literally would not let go of the cage. The referee was slapping at her hand, trying to get her to let go of the cage, and she was ignoring the referee and maintaining her grip on the cage to stop herself from being pulled into that leg lock. Now, did it save her? Probably not. She would have probably won anyway by KO, looking at the difference that they had on the feet between each other. Lemos was just a matter of time before she was going to catch Livia Renata Souza on the chin and put her down, because Lemos just seems to have way better striking than Livia. However, it does annoy me when I watch these female fighters get away with fouls that a male fighter would maybe be DQ'd for, in all honesty, and have a point taken away for. She literally refused to take her hand out of the cage, even while the referee was pulling at her hand to get it out of the cage, and nothing happened whatsoever. But Amanda Lemos gets the job done by jab KO in the first round. It was a brutal finish. Great KO. Little bit of a weird stoppage, but Livia Renata Souza didn't seem to protest it whatsoever, so good job Amanda Lemos. Got the job job done in the first round. Moving on up the card, Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews, also on the early prelims. Great matchup, great fight overall. Sean Brady gets the submission in the third round by an arm triangle, I believe it was. Great win by Sean Brady, man. He looked really good in this fight. Jake Matthews was a game opponent, a very, very good opponent indeed. Showed some things against Sean Brady, landed a couple of shots here and there, but overall, I predicted Sean Brady to win by taking down Jake Matthews at the end of these rounds, and I thought that Sean Brady was just going to resort to his wrestling every single time it got a little bit scrappy on the feet, and that's exactly what happened. Sean Brady showed great fight IQ. Every single time it started to get a little bit interesting on the feet with Jake Matthews, Brady just dived underneath, got the legs, got the ground, got the grappling going in that fight. Sean Brady's wrestling is to be feared, in my opinion. He looked good. He got the finish in the third round by submission just to top off his own performance. I mean, if he went to a decision there, it would have been a little bit of a lackluster win. It wouldn't have been a dominant one like he wanted, I'm sure. It was a dominant win, don't get me wrong, but Sean Brady, I'm sure, is very aware that he would much rather get a nice little submission on his record to show that he means business, and I think Sean Brady should be ranked 15 in the welterweight division because Khamzat Chimaev beat Rhys McKee and he's ranked. Rhys McKee's not even in the UFC and he's a lightweight from Cage Warriors. Sean Brady should be ranked number 15 in the welterweight division. That's 4-0, 4 good wins, and a decent opponent in Jake Matthews, who was, I think, number 19 at the time as well. So Sean Brady's going to jump right up the rankings. I believe he called out Li Jingliang, which I would love as a fight, but I was kind of unimpressed by Jake Matthews in this fight. I know he's a young guy and he's learning and he's been around for a while, but he kept throwing the same combination over and over. The jab, jab, something. Jab, jab, something. Fake, jab, something. Jab, fake, something. It was the same combination every time. No wonder Brady could time him so well with the takedowns. Matthews was a little bit too predictable. He needed to vary the strikes a little bit more. Brady gets the job done using his grappling in round 3 by submission. Moving on up the card, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carlos Ulberg. Okay, this got fight of the night for some bizarre reason. I guess they really like Carlos Ulberg. However, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carlos Ulberg. Great comeback win by Kennedy Nzechukwu, getting himself the TKO in the second round after being completely battered by Carlos Ulberg in the first. I mean, this is the literal definition of a Homer Simpson-esque performance here. Nzechukwu literally got beaten up so badly that Ulberg could not beat him up anymore. And that's when Nzechukwu started going on the advance, landing his good shots. In fact, I thought it was a pretty risky fight even in the first round at moments because Ulberg just completely gassed out in the fight and showed his lack of experience in MMA. And this is why you don't sign guys who are only 3-0. I know it says that he's 5-0. I dare anyone to find those extra 2 wins anywhere online. They don't exist. He's 3-0 in MMA. I don't know why everyone's saying he was 5-0. He's very inexperienced, and we saw that tonight in terms of how he paces himself. I just thought there was a lot of moments in the fight where it was very obvious. This guy's a kickboxer. He's not used to this realm. Standing in front of Nzechukwu, grabbing on the guard. Any other light heavyweight that's any good in the rankings is going to make you fucking pay for doing that dumb shit. Standing in front of Nzechukwu with his hands down, and when his hands weren't down, they were literally touching at the arms of Kennedy Nzechukwu, like blast knees or something in that situation. He just wasn't decisive enough with what he wanted to do. Landed some great shots. I feel like he should have gone to the body way more because that was really working, and Nzechukwu showed that he's got a great chin for the division. At least that's something we can learn about Kennedy Nzechukwu. He's definitely improved since his time off, but I don't even know if he has because he literally just shelled up and took abuse until Ulberg could not give any more abuse. But Ulberg just showed a few risky things. I don't know how he's going to do moving on at light heavyweight, although I do believe he could win his future few fights. I think he's kind of showed that maybe he can be figured out at that ranked level. Carlos Ulberg, the hype got derailed. I'm looking forward to seeing his comeback, though. I'm sure it'll be exciting. He's a great fighter. He's got a great style on the feet. He looks technically good. He just made a lot of mistakes that you can't make in MMA by not being okay in certain situations. The grabbing of the guard, the hands down in front of his opponent. Other guys are going to make you pay. He was lucky it was Nzechukwu, and even Nzechukwu got a KO in the second round. Great performance by Nzechukwu. He earns a comeback win and probably keeps his career in the UFC because he has had a lackluster career so far and he lost his last fight. So if he loses this one as well, maybe he doesn't get to come back in the UFC. So great job, Kennedy Nzechukwu, keeping his career on track. Moving on up the card, Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinosa. There was some trash talking going on about Tim Elliott calling Jordan Espinosa a wife beater. Very interesting trash talk from Tim Elliott. He went out there and dominated Jordan Espinosa. I said he would get the job done by decision, 30-27. I thought he would win every single round by backing Jordan Espinosa up and putting the pressure on him. He did exactly that. I did not expect Espinosa to be so bad with takedown defense. Elliott got takedown so easily, and Espinosa would throw like a head kick for some bizarre reason. Terrible IQ from Espinosa not to create distance and start going a little bit more punch heavy maybe when a guy's taking you down non-stop. But Tim Elliott got the control time on the ground, landed the significant strikes, and the trash talking was mean. But one thing that was meaner is something I haven't seen done in the cage yet, but it's perfectly legal, I guess. Tim Elliott grinding his forearm and elbow, not throwing elbows, not throwing forearms, not attempting significant strikes, putting his forearm and elbow on Espinosa's face and just grinding against his face, putting all of his weight on that elbow and forearm and just smushing the nose, smushing the eyebrows, cutting open Espinosa. It was a work of art that Tim Elliott showed in the ground and pound. Of course, he's a lower ranked guy at flyweight. I feel like a perfect opponent next for Tim Elliott could be potentially a man by the name of a Tagir Ulberg, or maybe a David Dvorak, or someone along these lines. One of those names that's coming up right now. Elliott earned himself a shot against a contender, and if he wins that, we'll think about moving him on. We'll see how Elliott goes. Moving on to the prelims of the card. Rogerio Bontorin versus Kai Kara-France. I picked Kai Kara-France by first round KO, and Kai Kara-France got a first round KO, but there was some controversy again. And it was real risky controversy, I'll tell you. It could have been so bad if Kara-France came back and landed those follow-up shots, because Herb Dean had called off the fight. I know that Herb Dean did not do the wave off, but I think it's very obvious when Herb Dean pulls Kara-France off of his opponent that the fight is officially over. Maybe. Commissioners, cornermen of Kai Kara-France, Eugene Behrman literally pointed at Rogerio Bontorin and said, you got to keep going. Herb Dean hasn't stopped it. Kara-France runs back in there. He had finished the fight. Herb Dean just didn't do the official wave off because it was an out of nowhere stoppage at the end of the first round. Little bit of a hectic moment, but it was a great uppercut finish by Kai Kara-France. Defended a bunch of adversity as well in that first round. Bontorin had a great back take moment in the fight, and he kept that back for a very long time in the first round, looking like he was on his way to a 10-8. He had so many close submission attempts where he almost sunk in the rear naked, but Kai Kara-France showed that he's got heart still and kept fighting hands. It might have been one of the best displays of avoiding a rear naked choke I've ever seen, because we're in the first round. There's no sweat whatsoever. Bontorin is a jacked flyweight. He's got a fucking squeeze on him and a half. And Kara-France kept fighting the hands. Every time Bontorin looked like he had the choke, Kai Kara-France, no, you don't, mate. I'm going to get the hands. I'm going to fight 2-on-1. I'm going to pull at the gloves. It wasn't illegal. He's just like grabbing the hands. Sorry, not the gloves. Grabbing around the wrist, controlling the wrist control of Rogerio Bontorin, not letting him get a rear naked choke, eventually scrambling out of it at the end of the round and landing with shots where he needed to, putting the pressure on when he needed to as well, because he knew at the end of that round that Bontorin's just squeezed his arms out for about 3 minutes. I'm going to have a lot more energy than him here. I'm going to go for it, and that's exactly what Kara-France did. Good win from Kai Kara-France. Moving on up the card, Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov. I picked Askar Askarov by 30-27 unanimous decision, outlanding Benavidez every single round, and that's exactly what Askar Askarov did. Now, there was one close round in the fight, but overall it was determined by the fact that Benavidez reacted differently to Askarov's shots than Askarov reacted to Benavidez's shots. Now, Benavidez landed a couple of good leg kicks in the fight. I think he should have gone to that more often, but Askarov showed there was a grappling difference in the first 2 rounds, and to just straight up out grapple Joseph Benavidez and engage in that with him, it shows the level of grappler that Askar Askarov is. Very, very dangerous guy in the flyweight division. I don't think he earned himself a title shot, because he did miss weight for this by a pound, so he's not going to get himself a title shot, which actually works out perfectly. We get to build his name even more against another up-and-coming contender, and we also get to see that Figueiredo versus Moreno rematch as well, and don't have to have Askarov wait on the sidelines. But he's definitely earned himself a title shot in the future, or a title elimination bout next, I should say. Askar Askarov just outlanding Benavidez every single round. Maybe Benavidez could steal the third, but the first 2 were so clear for Askar Askarov. Clear win from Askarov. Good win. It sucks that he missed weight. What can you do, you know? It's kind of a sad situation to see Benavidez go out like that, but he did just get smacked up by a younger guy. You can't be an older guy at flyweight. You have to be able to take shots well, and Benavidez can't take shots the same way anymore, and you have to be able to have that scrap in you. Askarov gets it done. Moving on up the card, Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips in what was my opinion robbed for fight of the night by Ulberg and Nzechukwu. Nzechukwu did nothing until the finish in that fight. And Yadong versus Phillips was a great scrap back and forth. Yadong actually outstruck him on significant strikes here, and they gave the fight to Phillips. I thought this was a very close fight, in all honesty. I thought it was a very competitive bout. I think Kyler Phillips rightfully won the fight with the rounds. He scored a couple of more shots. The takedowns were massive as well in the fight. Out of nowhere, Kyler Phillips would just shoot a massively explosive takedown and get Song Yadong to the canvas, but I felt like Yadong was doing a lot better in the striking department, and as I look back at these stats, he outlanded Phillips in round 2, and he massively outlanded him and doubled him in round 3. Song Yadong had a really good fight in him, a really good performance, but they went with Kyler Phillips. The takedown secured some good time. He had some total strikes as well, but Yadong outlanded him on total strikes as well. And he got a reversal. But it was a close fight. I'm not saying robbery. I'm not saying robbery at all. Close fight. Very close fight. Phillips, I thought, edged the first 2 rounds watching it live, so I don't even mind the decision looking back at these stats. But Phillips was just way too active in the first 2 rounds, just landing too many shots. And although I thought Yadong was a bit more of a technically sound fighter, and I think if that had 5 rounds, Yadong would win. I think if they rematch, Yadong would win as well, in all honesty. He showed me that he's a technically good fighter. Very sound, landing the better combinations, landing the better counter shots, landing a little bit better technique as well. Kyler Phillips just out-volumed him, kept it on him, landing good shots, landed some crazy shots as well, like some spinning back kicks and stuff like that. Phillips is a very entertaining guy to watch, and it was a great performance by him, edging out Song Yadong over the 3 rounds in a great performance. This one should have got fight of the night. I don't know why it didn't. Moving on up the card, Dominick Cruz versus Kenney. You guys told me I was wrong. I picked Dominick Cruz 29-28, unanimous decision over Kenney, and I was called a loser. People said Dominick Cruz hasn't got it anymore. You're being stupid. Cruz is done. Cruz is anything but done. And he went out there against Kenney, and I thought he could have won every single round. Maybe you can give a round to Kenney or something like that, but Dominick Cruz clearly won that fight. There was no need whatsoever for a split decision there. Dominick Cruz showed that he still got it in the bantamweight division, landing good shots. He outlanded Kenney in round 1 by 3 significant strikes, in round 2 by 3 significant strikes, then in round 3 by 9 significant strikes here. Just an absolute masterclass by Dominick Cruz, landing good shots. Kenney just couldn't get the leg kicks early because Cruz kept moving out of the way of them and showing that he can address leg kicks against opponents. So Kenney started going, all right, I'm going to start landing some big hooks over the top, and Cruz was making him whiff massively in those early rounds. Kenney had a 36% landing ratio in the first, and he normally lands a lot of his shots. We saw that in the Heli Lateng fight and even in the Nathaniel Wood fight as well. Dominick Cruz showed that there's levels to this game. He's still at that championship level, landed good shots back himself, even had Kenney stumbled a couple of times, but Kenney would land back and it would get into a bit of a scrap. Great performance from both guys. Cruz securing takedowns in certain moments as well. Just a great scrap back and forth. What can I say? Eventually Kenney started making reads. He started realizing, you know what, I'm missing my hooks. I'm going to start going some straight shots here and trying to catch Dominick Cruz with these straight shots. Started landed a couple of them, but Dominick Cruz just keeps making adjustments, keeps getting it done. He's a very high fight IQ fighter. One thing that wasn't a high fight IQ thing was his post-fight call-out. He got I don't know what he did. He called out some random manager guy that's holding people's contracts. He's the Monster Energy manager or something like that. He's done some dirty things to fighters in the past and stuff, but just a waste of a call-out in my opinion. Dominick Cruz could have called out TJ Dillashaw, could have called out Jose Aldo, could have called out Cody Garbrandt for a rematch, and I bet you a lot of those names would have liked the idea of that matchup right now. Dominick Cruz, in my opinion, after this, needs to be skyrocketed up those bantamweight rankings. It's an embarrassment to have him at number 11. He lost to Cejudo and Garbrandt, and the Garbrandt fight was pretty close as well. I think he should sit in the top 10, maybe top 8 right now. Definitely going to get some move up here after his win against Kenney. Great performance by Dominick Cruz, getting the job done and making me turn £3 into 20 with my parlay of Tim Elliott, Kai Kara France, and Dominick Cruz. I'll take it. Thank you, Dominick Cruz, getting the job done. Moving on up the card to the main card. Thiago Santos versus Aleksandar Rakic. Wow, that completely was removed from my memory, and there's good reason for that. It was not the best fight in the world. And am I crazy here? Maybe I need to watch it back, especially the first round. I thought Santos could have won that one. I picked Rakic to win by unanimous decision. I thought he was going to get Santos to the ground and work him there. Rakic looked fucking terrible, man. I'm sorry. I know he won the fight clearly in the second round, and he could have edged the first round as well. I thought the first round could go either way, but I edged the way of Santos because I thought to myself, I think he landed a couple of good shots, and I think he outlanded Aleksandar Rakic, and the stats support me as well. But Aleksandar Rakic just looks so switched off out there, man. So slow, so hesitant. He didn't want to commit to any of his punches. I really want, and this is a big sign for me, if I'm going to put my detective beanie on for a second here and become a detective and become Sherlock Guru, I see a man in Rakic who got KO'd in camp. In my opinion, he was so hesitant, or I know he's trained with Santos before, or has been KO'd by Santos in training. Or dropped by Santos in training. I'm not saying he got KO'd by Santos. Or dropped, or hit hard and rocked by Santos in training. He looked very hesitant out there. Very worried. He didn't want to exchange. He won the fight, don't get me wrong, and a bunch of people agree with the decision. That would not be a robbery if Santos' hand got raised, and he won the third round clearly. And it was worrying me that Rakic was not working in the third round because he had thought he'd won the first two, and he might have maybe lost the first. It was a close fight. Rakic edged the first round and the second round. No problem with the decision. It was just a very close back and forth bout. Both guys landed a couple of shots here, then another guy would land like a glancing leg kick. It wasn't the best, most action-packed fight in the world, don't get me wrong. But Aleksandar Rakic secures himself a win and changes the guard at light heavyweight. Now for Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz, still those old dogs holding it down, and we'll get to Jan Blachowicz in a second. Aleksandar Rakic leads the charge for the young guys, beating Thiago Santos. Now we just need Prochaska to beat Reyes, and we can have Rakic versus Prochaska in a title elimination bout at light heavyweight, and I'm looking forward to it massively. Moving on up the card, Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. Great matchup on the main card. Islam Makhachev completely dominated him start to finish like it was absolutely nothing. Dober had literally nothing for him whatsoever. I mean, Dober landed some decent shots, and in fact, it was 15-10 on significant strikes, but that does not tell the tale of the tape here. I picked Islam Makhachev by third round submission. I picked Rakic by decision, by the way, as well. I actually did really good on predictions this card and made a lot of money, so I'm happy with myself, in all honesty, even with the main event not going my way. Great performance by Islam Makhachev, man. Phenomenal performance by Islam Makhachev. Great takedown in the first round, and as soon as he got the takedown, it was just like everyone said to themselves that was watching, that's this round over. As soon as he got Dober to the ground, it was very obvious that Dober did not know how to get back up. We've seen Dober out-grappled by Beneil Dariush and submitted in the early rounds. We've seen him out-grappled by Livia Mercier and submitted in that fight as well. He's been out-grappled before in his career many times and been guillotined in his career. He has a problem with the grappling. It's why they made this matchup. Makhachev looks really good dominating a guy on the ground, looking exactly like Khabib out there, landing some good shots in total strikes, keeping the pressure on in the ground and pound. And that armbar in the first round was so close as well, by the way. Very close armbar by Islam Makhachev in the first round. Very great performance. He kept his weight low on Drew Dober, not allowing Drew Dober to scramble too much, and just kept on top of him, working over into half guard, trying to get the mount position, and eventually suck in. I think he sunk in, I believe it was the Von Flue choke or something like that in the third round. I'm not even sure what kind of submission it was. I think it was the Von Flue choke. It might have been an arm triangle. I'm not remembering the submission exactly. I called a submission in the third round for Makhachev once Dober gassed out. I think it was a Von Flue choke technically, because he didn't have the arm across and he didn't have his head on the outside of the arm. So I think it was a Von Flue choke. It could have been an arm triangle. My memory of it is a bit hazy. Makhachev got the job done by submission in the third round, called out Tony Ferguson. I think they should do Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee 2 in like May. Winner of that one takes on Makhachev in October. Winner of that one in October gets the top 3 opponent that's going to get him towards that title shot. Islam Makhachev put on a great performance and did what he was supposed to do against a guy that he was supposed to do it against. You know what I mean? Great matchup for Islam Makhachev. Dober's got no ground game. We knew that coming in. Makhachev gets the job done by submission in the third. Great performance. Moving on up the card. Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. I've made a full reaction to this on my channel. You can go check it out. It's 15 minutes long, but I'll keep this brief. Petr Yan beat Aljamain Sterling this weekend. He's better than him. I picked Aljamain Sterling to win, and even I know what happened in that fight. Now, the commentary would have you believe it was very competitive. Yan was fucking Sterling up in that third and fourth round. He was systematically breaking Sterling down, beating him up badly, wearing him down, concussing him here and there, landing good shots to the body, looked like they were hurting Sterling, wearing him down. Sterling was getting more and more gassed out, could not get a single takedown on Yan. I called that he wouldn't get a single takedown. I thought he was going to catch Yan scrambling from a takedown and get his back standing, and that's how I thought he would get it done. Against the cage, taking his back against the cage. Yan went out there and not only stuffed the takedowns of Sterling, but dunked Sterling like a bitch in the grappling. Really picked up the legs, span him round, got a couple of nice trips as well and a couple of nice sweeps. He out-grappled Sterling. He outstruck Sterling. The only round where Sterling looked in any way good other than the second, which was close, I guess, was the first. And that was because, in my opinion, I was watching it live, and I picked Aljo, by the way. I was watching it live. In my opinion, Yan knew that Aljo was going to gas himself out. He used fight IQ in the first round, took his time, found his perfect shot, dropped Aljamain Sterling and got himself a 10-9 round because of that dropping. Landed a good takedown as well in that round, I believe. And Petr Yan was just too much for Aljamain Sterling. Dominated him in those later rounds especially, and if there was a 5th round or even the end of a 4th round and that knee did not land, I could definitely see Sterling getting TKO'd 100%. But it's time for a rematch, and they're going to make the rematch, and I'm glad they're going to make the rematch. Petr Yan will batter him severely in a rematch, and it won't even be close. I think Yan's going to fucking terrorize him in that rematch. Sterling milked the act. Now let's talk about the knee. Again, Yan's in the fault for throwing the knee. I understand. But once the knee has been landed, it's up to Aljamain Sterling to decide who he is. And Aljamain Sterling decided that he was an award-winning, Oscar-winning actor. Okay? He really milked it. He was fine and up and sitting up, talking to the referee. When the doctor came in and started talking to Aljo, he would flop backwards like he's getting KO'd again. Ben Askren, I'm not joking, recovered better from the concussion than Aljamain Sterling did, and Aljo got clipped with a knee that was illegal. Fair play, the knee was illegal, and it's an illegal foul. I don't think it was intentional, first of all. I don't think Yan from the angle could see if Aljo's knee was down and thought he was maybe playing the game. Who knows? There was some confusion with the referee, with the coaching, some communication issues there with what they were saying to Petr Yan. He thought they gave the all clear for him to go for some kicks on the ground. They maybe said punch instead. He doesn't fucking understand English. Someone speak a bit of Russian to the man. It's so unfair. However, Yan looked really good, landed the good shots, but Aljamain decided to milk that shit as much as he fucking could and get himself that Bantamweight World Championship. And I know he's crying and talking about how it's not how he wanted to win, but hey, you took the fucking extra fucking couple of $100,000 and the belt as well and the guaranteed rematch, because I'll tell you this, if Yan does what I thought he was going to do in round 4 and 5 to Aljamain Sterling once that fight was playing out, Sterling might never get a title shot again and might never be the same fighter again. So Sterling secured himself a rematch. Yan landed the illegal knee. Both guys are at fault, but once the fault has been done by both, Sterling milked it to get himself the win. In my opinion, complete acting. Oh well, Aljamain Sterling gets it done. Moving on up the card. It's always weird to me though, as soon as the fight is called and it's time to put the belt around someone's waist, Aljo's fine to stand up on his own. Always weird to me how Aljo literally can't pick his head off the canvas when talking to a doctor about continuing a fight, but as soon as he knows that the fight is over, all right, time to get back up and get the belt put round me. It's fucking whatever though. Nunes versus Megan Anderson. Oh yeah, Nunes fought Megan Anderson. Yeah, I thought it was going to be by decision. I thought Nunes was going to play it safe and get the takedown, but no, she just smashed up Megan Anderson in the first round and destroyed her by submission. Really clean performance from Amanda Nunes. Dominant performance from Amanda Nunes. And she tapped out Megan Anderson in the first round with a great submission. I believe it was like an inverted arm... It was an inverted triangle armbar. Is that the correct way of saying it? It was an inverted triangle armbar from the back. Inverted triangle with the armbar as well. She cranked it. It looked like the arm broke, in all honesty. Megan Anderson tapped. It's just not a division, and Megan Anderson has no idea what she's doing. She was standing in range of Nunes while being the longer fighter, just accepting punishment on the feet by Nunes. Had nothing to offer whatsoever. Nunes is getting free legacy. She's getting a free $500,000 to fight girls who don't belong in title fights. Megan Anderson was on a 2-fight win streak. Now Nunes landed some great hooks, some great punches. I'm not taking that away from her. She got the takedown. She got the submission. It was just so obvious that Megan Anderson had no idea what to do with her hands whatsoever. No idea what to do with her hands. No idea how to control distance at all against anyone good. No idea how to defend a takedown. Just fundamentally not a real good fighter, and she was fighting for a belt for some fucking bizarre reason. Please, for the love of God, remove the women's featherweight division now. It's not a division. Remove it. I fucking beg of you. Moving on up the card. Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. Now, I picked Israel Adesanya to win. I wanted Israel Adesanya to win because I want views on my video, and if Israel Adesanya wins and fights Jon Jones, I've got another 5 fucking videos to milk out of his name and get a bunch of views on them. I wanted Adesanya to win. Jan Blachowicz won every single fucking round of that fight. I rewatched it with the commentary. I rewatched it just to make sure. Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier need to be fucking fired before they ruin someone's life. They are painting the narrative in their little commentary booth, the little A-team. Yeah, we're the A-team, we can do what we want. They're ruining fucking lives. They did the same thing in Figueiredo versus Moreno. I swear to fucking God, if Joe Rogan is still on commentary after this fucking fight card, it is literally a sign that he can't be removed. He should be removed. I don't understand how you can watch him have that performance on commentary. They literally made it sound like Adesanya had a chance at winning, and he got outdone every fucking round of the fight. I wanted Adesanya to win. I picked Adesanya to win. My reputation was on the line. I haven't got a fucking main event of a pay-per-view right this fucking year. I had every right to be biased if I wanted to, and try and play the game like it was close. Jan Blachowicz outstruck him every single round, outdid him on the ground as well. Last round could be a 10-8 because he landed a lot of shots in full mount and controlled him for about 3 minutes or whatever, how many minutes he controlled him for. Jan Blachowicz won 5-0, and DC's like confused about the scorecards at the end. He outlanded him every round. He landed the better shots every round. He got the takedowns whenever he needed them, and he controlled Adesanya every single time he got a takedown as well. Jan Blachowicz, no more legendary Polish power. Legendary Polish skill. He's a fucking phenom. He just outstruck Israel Adesanya on the feet, and I said this as well. You can go and check my full fight reaction to this on my channel if you want a bit more of an in-depth reaction and breakdown in the moment as well. Jan Blachowicz exposed Israel Adesanya, and I'm just going to say it how it is. Israel Adesanya has had a tasty reach advantage for way too long in his career, and I feel like it's the same situation with Kamaru Usman, and I'll call this as well. If Usman moves up to middleweight, he's going to get fucking smashed. Just going to say that. If Usman dares to move up to middleweight, he will get fucking obliterated. I promise you this. There is a thing about fighters with ridiculously long reaches in the UFC that when you finally put someone in there that has the same reach as them, we saw this with Jon Jones. When you put someone in there his frame, it gets very close. With Israel Adesanya, we found out if you put someone in there who's near his frame and near his reach, he can look very average very quickly compared to these other strikers. And Jan Blachowicz just went out there with a great game plan. He wasn't blocking the body kicks. He was just going to accept the body kicks because Adesanya kept trying to set up a question mark kick on Jan Blachowicz, kept trying to go to the body and go to the legs and then eventually turn it upstairs. Jan Blachowicz literally said the entire time, you can kick my body all you want, you can kick my legs all you want, I'm going to check them, because Jan Blachowicz checked nearly every kick. How? He's such a fucking... I love Jan Blachowicz after this. What an amazing performance, honestly. He said, I'm going to accept the kicks to the body. I know I'm going to block upstairs. You can kick me to the body all you want. I'm not going to get caught with these head kicks. And he kept the guard up high, never put it low, never got caught with anything too crazily big, other than at one moment where he got caught by a hook in a sloppy exchange between him and Adesanya. Got a little bit reckless. But other than that, Israel Adesanya just got completely outlanded, out-controlled every single round by Jan Blachowicz. Legendary Polish skill. He outskilled Israel Adesanya every single round. It's time to give Jan Blachowicz his credit. And not only that, but like a true champion that he is, he didn't call out Jon Jones. He didn't call out Stipe Miocic for a super fight. He called out Glover Teixeira, like a real champion does. Let's go, Jan Blachowicz. Good win for Jan Blachowicz. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Israel Adesanya, I think, knows to go back down to middleweight, win a couple of fights there. Maybe we can do some kind of rematch if Jan Blachowicz has still got the belt. Great performance by Jan Blachowicz, though. He really lived up and beyond. I think even people that picked Jan were kind of picking Jan to just catch Israel Adesanya at one point in the fight. I don't think anyone quite picked Jan to outland Izzy on the feet at range. It was spectacular to watch. And the fact that people were arguing, like, I've seen the headlines already. Jan Blachowicz edges out Israel Adesanya. Man. I swear to fucking God, the bias right now, he won the fight every round, maybe. The only round you can give to Izzy is round 1, and he got outlanded by multiple strikes. There's no way you give that fight to Izzy. There's no way you give more than a round to Izzy either. I don't understand the bias. I understand the bias. He's the big star in the UFC. But you've got to be unbiased during these things, man. Joe Rogan and DC deserve to be banned from fucking commentary for life. This has happened too many times between them, and they're absolutely fucking terrible at what they do. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Legendary Polish skill. Click that button up there. Like and subscribe. I'll see you later. It's fucking nearly 9 a.m. now. What a long night. But a great fight. A great card. A great card overall. See you later, guys. Toodle pip. We'll see where things play out from now. I'm assuming that Jon Jones is going to have a lot to say. Goodbye. But I'll tell you this, Jon Jones as well. Come see Jan Blachowicz. See what's good. If you're so bad. If you're such a big man. Talking about Israel Adesanya. Come see Jan Blachowicz. See what fucking happens. Legendary Polish power. See you later, guys. Toodle pip. Goodbye. Yeah.